Hello, 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 everybody. Guess what? We're back. LUKSUZ CHEAP Film Festival, second week, 18th edition in our history, but also first time ever online. So it's definitely a huge adventure for us this year. And we're so happy that you're all joining us again. And special thanks to everybody who joined us already last week as well. It was amazing. Okay, so what's behind us? As I said, we're in our second week now. Last week was all about young and emerging filmmakers whose films, by the way, all low budget, short and non-commercial, also great, were screened on our YouTube channel, and then we discussed them with the authors here on Facebook Live. So if you missed it, don't worry. All of the live sessions were being recorded, and you can find them on our Facebook page and also on our YouTube channel. And also all of the movies that were screened, you can go back to our YouTube channel and find them there until the end of the festival. So the 22nd of November, this Sunday. So, you know, don't wait too long and go there and press play as soon as possible. Okay, but about this week we are diving into a bit of a different digital dimensions. Like the program of this week is dedicated to reflections, film history, criticism, and of course we are always going to be debating forever as well, but not just with authors, but also with mentors this week. So if you're interested in education of youth and organization of that, also don't forget to join us as well. Okay, so before we start with today's program, I want to do a quick shout out to Ostrenje Pogleda. So this is Film Critics Workshop, and they're joining us this week of the festival behind the scenes. So what they do is, like, the participants applied, and everybody, like, they together, they watch a selection of movies, and then they do reviews under supervision, and then those reviews get published in Kino web page after the festival. So watch out for the post-festival reflections, written reflections. All right, but enough about anything that's coming. Let's focus on today. So today we're having a presentation by Barbara Borčić, a forum director of Slovenian Center for Contemporary Arts, in short, SCCA, and also she's the first head of DIVA Station. And for those of you who don't know, this is a physical and web archive of video and new media art. So something we should all know. So she will present some of the center's, like, previous projects and also current activities. And one of those is actually their partner project, a European project called Not Yet Written Stories, that focuses on female artists who have often been overlooked in the history of contemporary art. And today she will present the CCA part of the project with 3 women, artists from different generations. We like Ana Duša Dragan, Zemira Alajbegović, and Ema Kugler. And all of those artists were or still are active in the field of action, performance, film and video art in Slovenia. Okay, you can find the links to some of the like the works of these amazing women on our Facebook page, but they're also available to public if you go and search within DIVA archive. Okay, that's it from my side for now. I want to now leave this digital floor to Barbara on the other side. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. I'm glad to be hosted by LUKSUZ Festival. I was supposed to come there, but unfortunately, well, that's how it is. I will actually lead you through some of our programs. First is the organization SCCA-Ljubljana that exists from '93. Then we shall look at more closely at the program which is focused on what we call archival practices. And we shall also see one video that is also presenting this archive in more, I would say, complex way. And then we shall go to the project that was already mentioned, which is the project Not Yet Written Stories. And that's it. Okay, so let's... Okay, so I hope you have now the Center for Contemporary Arts site. And here it is. So even though we had many more programs in previous years, because when we were established, we were known under the name Soros Center for Contemporary Arts, which means that we were part of Open Society Institute, Soros Foundation, and so on. So at that time, our important programs were actually grant programs. So we gave grants to artists and organizations. And in a way, we were one of the possibilities for cultural and art society to get funds. Maybe we gave funds to those who were not able to get from the Ministry of Culture or from different city councils. What was important, maybe just to show you maybe a few things. So you see the projects that are exhibitions, researches, and some other programs. We cannot go through all of them, but maybe just exhibitions. And which will become, we go down. So actually that's how the center started. We had the first exhibition at Metelkova city, just 1 week after it was, or 1 month after it was squatted in the building Pešakis, for those who know Metelkova. The other very important was Urbanaria, which was the first exhibition in Slovenia that actually was covering the practices that are called contextual or art in the urban context. And all these projects are actually presented on with its own website. And then one was Media in Media, which was also important. It also presented experimental film production. And so these are exhibitions. And then that's how we began to deal with archives. So the first thing was for us to ask ourselves and the others, what is to be done? And at that time we had a program of workshops, how people like artists or people working in some institutions would be able to deal with the archives, because everybody, you know, keeps archives, but nobody has the time or also the knowledge how to structure it. So that was our idea. And then when we somehow knew what is going on, what is to be done, we asked ourselves what is going on. So we had again this program in Kapelica Gallery in Ljubljana with international seminar, workshop, lectures, and so on. And later we had some exhibitions in other countries. And because I have to say that our archive of mainly video art, but also new media and more also film, art films or experimental films. We are presenting this in international scale. So sometimes with exhibitions, but mainly with presentations, lectures, and screenings. So this Diva at LUKSUZ Gallery was very important. I will show you later this video that is showing how it looked. That was something important for us because we wanted to show how actually the archive should be alive. So it should be for usage and not closed in some cellar or whatever. Okay, then there are many exhibitions that are important that are connected with our educational program, World of Art. We were also in a way focused on female artists from before, like we are now in this European program, not yet written stories. And then this is again with archives. Here, for example, we tried to show how the very complex multimedia or polymedia project can be shown in an archive. If you are interested, you can see all these then in more specific way. So this is now the meaning of archives. Video turn was also important because we tried to work with 3 artists who were working in video, but also in multimedia practices, and present them in the gallery in a very non-typical way. So they had performances and installations and some screenings, but mostly workshops. So this one also had to do with the archives. It is raised with time. It actually wanted to show what is the relationship between performance and video. So in very short, we have some performances that were just documented by video. Then we have some performances that were done just for camera. And then we have different relations that can somehow make some difference in each practice. So video spotting is actually, again, the program which we do when we present the archive or the video, film and new media art. Okay, this is when we wanted to talk a little bit, to discuss a little bit what is the relationship between film and video. As we know, it's less and less visible and less important, but used to be much more important. Okay, this was quite a big exhibition in Strasbourg, which was important for us because when we present video production or film production, we usually have to make it 1 hour, mostly 1.5 hours program for a screening. But this was exhibition. We got many spaces and also huge spaces, so we could really make exhibition that was on screens, that was on even old televisions, but also screened on the wall. So this was also interesting exhibition when we presented one of the artists who came from New York after 30 years of his work there. So he also presented his work as an audiovisual installation. So our space is at Metelkova 6. Maybe you heard, because nowadays there were a lot of commentaries on this building, because in this building there are many non-government institutions and some art groups like Irving Group or the Leibach Group. And the Ministry of Culture, that is really not very helping. They just wanted us to leave the space. So we are now in a kind of a fight to oppose that. So here is again the exhibition that was focused on women, and it was within the International Festival of Contemporary Art that's called City of Women. It's going on from, I think, 20 years. Okay, this is now something that we are trying to do now with very fine help of Slovenian Cinematheque. We are presenting some of the, we call them opuses of artists who are more considered as video artists than filmmakers, even though they also make films, especially as I mentioned, because now it's already not very visible how to make this division. So we are planning to make more screenings like that, maybe each year. And we are also planning to make a kind of small video festival next year in Slovenia Cinematheque. Okay, so now maybe it's enough, or we can go back just for a second. So you can see here, these are projects, and you can see two main programs. One is this educational program that is for curatorial practices and critical writing. And it's actually the only program that gives you this kind of knowledge and also practice, practical tools and how to make exhibitions, how to understand and art, and how to communicate with artists, and then also, of course, with public. So this is a school that is going on from 1996. And this is DIVA Station archive. I think I will just show you shortly DIVA. This is how it looks, and the structure is like that. So you see, you can either decide to search by name of the artist or by the title of the work, or you can go to video works, to artists, to genres. So we have genres. So here are genres, and they are like works of art, actually. They are events, and then they are sources. And then you can also search by keywords. There are many, many keywords. You can see how much of the keywords are popular. So this is again female, body, music, nature, public space, for example. Otherwise, you can also find some contextual framework. So you can find some texts that gives you broader perspective to video production in Slovenia. This is also important because Mediatek actually is only in physical space. So in Ljubljana at Metelkova 6, we have two spaces. One is used for office, the other one is project room SCCA. And just the project room SCCA is actually a multi-functional space. It is for a library, for the archive, and also for the school, and then also for some projects like installations, performances, sometimes even small exhibitions going on there. Then, of course, you can also search by years if you are interested in some specific years. And then here you have, again, some of the suggestions. Yeah. So when you, for example, this is how we make available. So in about Mediatek, I didn't say a lot. So Mediatek actually works, which we, for example, got, as you see, we got some archives from ZKM, Karlsruhe, then from Austria. We have some works by Armenian, Iranian artists, Egyptian even, or many works by Yugoslav, let us say, artists. These works are not shown on our online, but you can come to our space and you can watch them. And we also put some news. So this is the last news that we had workshop like this one on Zoom. And then we put some new acquisitions. We call them acquisitions, but actually they are not acquisited. The artists, they just gave us for free because we do not have that possibility to buy, which would be, of course, normal in case if the state, I would say the state of Slovenia would have this courage or maybe brains to understand that this is very important and that this is a kind of state national cultural heritage that should be saved, but also have the possibility to be presented as much as possible to artists or to public and so on. So here you can just see our, well, we have to wait now. There was the, here there are events that are mainly nowadays online. It's also the exhibition of this school. And I think here you can see our library, for example. What is maybe also, I don't know how to find that, but yeah. No, I won't find it now, but okay. So now I think we shall go to PowerPoint. I will present you maybe a little bit more the context of DIVA Station. So DIVA Station is actually the name that is more broad than just this archive, either physical or online. So it is a compendium of all these projects. We are also trying to promote, to disseminate, not to distribute. We are not distributors. So if somebody would like to get some works by the artist that is in our archive, we connect them to the artist. We are not working on this directly. So this is the first project. You see it was made around 2000 when we actually made a documentation of all the video production. It was very important because in Slovenia, the Modern Gallery or Museum of Contemporary Art, they are having the documentation of painting, sculpture, also some of the new practices, but nothing was on video art. So we decided to do that, and it was made as a catalog raisonné, then a book of essays that gave some context, some relations between, for example, video theater, video film, video music, and so on. It was one of the first CD-ROM which we did together with Ljubljana, if you know that. And then it's also a website, which you can still see. So this is how the website looks like. You can search now the artists. There are no videos here. So what we decided was actually to leave it like this and to make this online archive DIVA, which is like going into each artist, but then there are many, many more, of course, because these 13 artists, they were in the year 99 when we stopped collecting the works, that we thought that they dealt with video in a more profound way. So this is another one which I already mentioned, curated programs. So it's again, we have a website for it. So you can, on the left side, you can see what kind of programs were. There are many thematical programs, or there are programs that give you some historical perspective. So you can also see here who are the artists, who were curators, what kind of exhibition did we have, where the screenings were. So this site is very useful also for the artists, because they can find their name in all the programs that they were participating. So it's very important, for example, when you have to prolong your freelance status here in Slovenia. This is archiving practices. I explained a little bit before. So what we are interested is how the good practices were done by institutions or by the artists. So apart from this Karlsruhe ZKM, which is maybe the most important, we had also this Montevideo, Lux London, Transmediale Berlin, but we also had Video Forum MBK from Berlin. So we had more than, yeah, I should update it. Okay, this is Mediatek. And this is this physical and online archive. So on the left side, you can see that we are collecting also some small digital video cassettes. We thought in a particular time that this is the most safe way, because DVDs are, of course, we know they are not very stable, and because the formats are changing all the time, and these video cassettes that are on tapes are a little bit more safe. Okay, so now we shall go to this, what I mentioned. It is one researcher, and she is actually also the professor at the Academy for Architecture in Ljubljana. She was presenting this exhibition, which was in LUKSUZ Gallery. So somehow I think it would be nice to see it, because it gives you much more kind of way. I mean, you can see how it worked when you look at it. So we shall look at it from our DIVA Station. So it's not a very, maybe the best.
Kot je misel ujeta v telo, je telo ujeto v prostor. In če poskusimo razbiti plasti spomina, ki jih je ustvaril čas, se izkaže, da telo naseljuje le gib med obema poloma. Prostor prehaja v misel in misel se prikrade v prostor ujeta med signale, kable, svetlobo in senco. Pred nami se zariše kot iluzija prostora, ki izbriše realnost ter nas postavi v čas spomina misli. In kot video spreminja čas, v katerega prostor se prikrade, se s časom spreminja tudi njegova podoba.
Video se v bistvu zelo spremenil. Sam način produkcije, recimo avtorskega videa, se blazno spremenil. V začetkih, se pravi v 70-ih letih, je bilo to predvsem stvar televizije, ker nihče od civilov, če se tako izrazim, ni imel dosti dobre opreme, da bi lahko produciral karkoli takšnega. V 80-ih se je stvar že malo pluralizirala, recimo, ampak še vedno v 80-ih je bila zelo tako kot v 70-ih, v 80-ih je bil pomemben eksperiment, sama formalna slika, mislim, sama formalna podoba videa. Potem recimo v 90-ih, sploh pa zdaj v tem času se je zadeva spremenila do te mere, da je ta tehnologija dostopna skoraj vsakemu.
Zdaj živimo v času, ki omogoča slehrnemu posamezniku, da se pač posluša tega pač medija. To dejansko pač prinaša pozitivne stvari, po drugi strani pač tudi prinaša te probleme, ki jih pa načeloma prinaša tudi celoten internet. Se pravi, poplava informacij, poplava nepreverjenih informacij in pač ta neka racionalizacija se mi zdi, da se dogaja na vseh nivojih.
Mi živimo v enem času take zelo slabe resolucije. Se pravi, vse, kar vidimo, ponavadi je v bistvu že tudi zreducirano na neko golo informacijo, pač low resolution, kot je, ne vem, YouTube, karkoli, ali Diva. In meni se iz tega lahko znamo, smo že tukaj se naučili, da lahko znamo iz tega prebrati, kaj je za tem.
Pri tem pa se ni spremenila le podoba videa, temveč je nasičenost časa s podobami, ki iščejo pozornost, pričela spreminjati dojemanje realnosti prostora.
When you just go back to the history 20-30 years ago, you could say you had on the one side art and on the other reality. And then you had all those developments called expanded architecture, expanded theater, expanded cinema, expanded painting, expanded sculpture, whatever. Means they tried to approach to reality, knowing they're on the one side and they have, in a way, to identify the one with the other. Now you could say there is already this symbiosis of the both of them. There is no difference anymore, and we have to turn it around to bring back an awareness that media are still just media. That's what I'm saying. I guess in a way we forgot that this kind of ideological charging of reality is based on media.
What is your opinion about putting your work, for example, on YouTube?
Well, 20 years ago, that was our dream, in a sense, because we were being distributed on cable television on the public access system in the United States, which was limited, although we reached certain audiences because we had New York and San Francisco and LA, some of the biggest cities. But still, the dream of just widespread access, as big as any TV network, was what we were looking forward to.
Prostor nizke resolucije je misel soočil z dejstvom, da se mora orientirati ne le znotraj 4 dimenzij, temveč tudi znotraj računalniškega spomina.
I would say every person nowadays is a curator, so there are no curators anymore. Even curators are ideological construction. Potentially every person using the web is potentially a curator. And whenever you look for something, you find something, you put it together, you make a series out of it, you're already curating something. But the question is, what is the meaning of that? How does it enable you to create a political, a cultural statement? How do you respond to which notion of the public? Where is the side to address someone?
Diva je pač nastala po enih drugih projektih, ki so se z videom ukvarjali, to pač na SCCA-Ljubljana. Vsi ti projekti so tu zdaj recimo z logotipi predstavljeni in jaz sem sodeloval z SCCA-Ljubljana prav pri teh prejšnjih projektih in pri zasnovi te Dive. Ljudje, ki pač se s tem portalom ukvarjajo in sodelujejo z njim, so pač strokovnjaki z tega področja. Umetnostni zgodovinari, umetniki in te ljudje pač tvorijo neko kritično maso, ki pač definira te videe kot pomembne.
kaj to pomeni za podobe, ki jih uvrščamo v polje video umetnosti? Ali so v času, ko so zamenjale gostitelja, produkcijske hiše z internetom, izgubile bitko za prepoznaven prostor, še preden so ga naselile, oziroma kako je nastal digitalni video arhiv?
Mi smo imeli leta 2005 v Kapelci prvo razstavo, kjer so bili arhivi, kakor smo jih lahko razumeli. Ali so bili CD-romi, ki jih organizacije naredijo, ali so bili umetniški projekti, ali so bili na DVD posneti, ali je bilo neki spletni projekt. Potem čez 2 leti, 2007, smo naredili razstavo Kaj se dogaja, ker smo rekli, zdaj že vemo, kaj storiti, ampak kaj se dogaja z audiovizualnimi arhivi sodobne umetnosti. In takrat smo imeli razstavo v bistvu spet v Kapelci in smo takrat povabili že te naše partnerje iz projekta Gama.
Gama, Gateway to the Archives of Media Art, je osrednji portal, ki povezuje evropske digitalne arhive video umetnosti v prepoznavno celoto. Deloval naj bi kot vrata, skozi katera obiskovalci vstopajo v svet video umetnosti.
It's a question of representation. What to represent and how to make that clear. And with our surrounding of media, we could say it's like this feeling of a double life. So I have it once practically performing it, and at the same time in this kind of taped medialized version, you can say, it has this charm of a virtual existence. So whatever happens doesn't really happen because it's just happening in the realm of media. And this kind of non-reality associated with it, this is the interesting part.
Če ima resničnost virtualno dimenzijo ne le v spominu telesa, temveč tudi v računalniškem spominu, ali so spletni arhivi res našli način, da odpirajo prostor video umetnosti?
Današnje predavanje se bo malo ukvarjalo s tem vprašanjem, kakšna je bila obljuba arhivov, ki bodo tako dostopni, koliko je ta dostopnost resnična, ker tako kot je bilo vprašanje zastavljeno, ker se zadeve kopičijo, jih je treba na en način urediti. Ne smeš jih pa spet preveč, moraš dopustiti, da je malo tega kreativnega kaosa v vsem skupaj.
And I guess that's one of the chances we have with the archives, these collections, to say then to create a kind of a space that is not linked to territory in the classical sense, but related to a question of interests, of meaning.
Kako torej deluje diva? Kako lahko odkrivamo podobe, ki jo naseljujejo? Kako so oblikovani kriteriji, po katerih jih lahko spoznavamo?
Zmeraj, ko narediš en kriterij, takoj se ti pokaže, da je tam eno delo, ki v ta kriterij sicer ne more čistko iti not, ampak da vsem ti želiš. Torej, glavno vodilo je tako, kot je bil že prvi video dokumentu, video umetnost v slovenskem prostoru, to, da je to raba videa v kontekstu umetnosti.
Tisto, kar je tega teoretičnega dela, kar je v bistvu arhivskega dela, kar je Andreas rekel, da ni dovolj, da opremimo to samo z imenom avtorja, naslovom, trajanjem, letnico in tako dalje. Je pomembno tudi, da to delo nekako kontekstualiziramo in zato imamo različna orodja. Prvo in najbolj tako delu uslužno je to, da ga opišemo z nekim sestavkom oziroma sinopsisom, preko katerega je možno nekako ta okvir, v katerem je delo nastalo, razumeti. Potem ga pa opredelimo še z nekaterimi temi besedami oziroma z vrstmi, ki služijo kot neke krovne besede in niso vedno egzaktne ali pa uslužne delu, vendar omogočajo nekako navigacijo v samem sistemu oziroma navigacijo po tej mapi, s katero se soočamo.
it seems like with YouTube and the net, in some ways, one of the downsides is that there's so much work out there now that it's very difficult to establish publicity and distribution for smaller art, for smaller work. So it's out there, but how do you get people to know that it's out there? And it seems like this kind of project is really invaluable, and it could be a key for a lot of the individual artists who are just flooded with, you know, a million other videos out there on the web. That is, in some ways, you're establishing a brand. And even though there's great variety within the archive, you're collecting them all under one name, which gives more attention to the project as a whole, and thus provides a way for people to kind of start concentrating on each individual piece.
Mislim, na ta način lahko pač priješ do enih informacij, do enih umetnikov, enih umetniških del, zato ker pač, kot sem prej že rekel, so v bistvu v nekem kontekstu. Ne? To je sam začetek, ampak to je čist štart. Ja.
Če se prepustimo videu, nastavo jame v iluzijo prostora časa, pri čemer zabriše meje fizičnega prostora. Če so video podobe postale tako močan faktor pri ustvarjanju resničnosti, je zamisel premalo, da se je sposobna orientirati po fizičnem prostoru. In kaj to pomeni za čas?
What notion of time do we have in order to identify space becomes more important. And now we come back to the question of memory, in which memory was once related to a question of time, to say then memory has a temporal relation to presence, but with this, what you also said before, not again anymore in this historian sense, but to regard it just as a distinction in time, to say that memory is just another mode to think about the presence.
Spomin nastaja, ko telo iz prostora misli podobe. Tako spomina brez podob ni. So le fragmenti, ki se vračajo v kaos. In obratno, ni podob brez spomina. So le misli brez obstanka. Arhiviranje je pravzaprav ohranjanje nekega spomina. Diva išče spomin podobam, da bi lahko mislili prostor umetnosti, kajti brez tega smo ujeti v podobo sveta, ki nas mehanično poustvarja.
Okay, hi. Can you hear me again? Okay. So now I suppose you got some idea how our wish actually is how to have the open archive, and that people can really study and intervene and so on. Now I think that we have come to the last project, which is this not yet written stories. Now, maybe you noticed, but Zemira Begovic was mentioned as one of the mentors for this video essay. Actually, the School for Curatorial Practices and Critical Writing. They used to have also, apart from, I don't know, how to write the article, how to write the critique, how to write the essay, and so on. They also had this workshop on how to do a video essay, which was very important. It's not anymore, unfortunately, but so she is also one of the artists which we selected for this project, which is European project. We are actually, it's project that we began together with the Arton Foundation from Warsaw, then Zagreb Office for Photography, and Riga Latvian Center for Contemporary Arts. So we are 4 partners, and each of the partner is working in some way that they decided. So, for example, we do not have this wish to go further into the history of art as, for example, our Polish colleagues or Latvian colleagues, because during the Soviet Union, they didn't have this possibility to make research and to make documentation and to present the artistic practices from the conceptual art, for example. But what we did was to reconnect this project to the to our idea of archiving video art mainly, so, and film. We selected 3 artists. They are Anna Nusha Dragan, Zemira Lajbegovic, and Emma Kugler. I suppose you know at least Emma Kugler. She's nowadays very popular, I would say. She is getting prizes one after another. So, what was important for us was that maybe because they were working in a kind of group practices, or even they also worked, for example, with one artist as together as a kind of tandem, that maybe their role and their importance is not so visible. So what we wanted to do was, on one side, to reconnect with DIVA and with the archives of video. So we selected artists who are working in video, and we selected them like so that we have from the 70s, or I would say late 60s on. Then we have one that is very typical, Alajbegovic for the 80s and Kugler for the 90s. So, for example, Anna Nusha Dragan, she was working with Srećo Dragan as a tandem, and they made the first video in broader Middle Europe in '69. Then later on, she began to work by her own in the 90s. Then we have, this is a time of conceptual art, a time of the very important Slovenian group, OHO, from that period of time. So they were part of what we call OHO movement. We have OHO group, and OHO movement is a broader one. So this is showing a kind of more conceptual works. And maybe if you already watched some of the works that were put on Facebook event information, then you could see how it was. Then you have Zemira Lajbegovic, who is very important member of FAVE group. It is a part of subcultural art and alternative scene in Ljubljana in the 80s. So they, apart from that, they were working on multimedia practices and also video projects. They also run a very famous FAVE disco. And for example, one of the workshops affiliated to these not yet written stories was actually the conversation between Ale Begovic and Jake Južna, who were discussing how the nightlife and club life in Ljubljana and New York in the 80s and also then in the 90s, what could be the relations. It was very, very interesting, and you can still watch it on our Facebook site. And then she was then later working on something that together with Neven Korda, they called video film production, because these were videos that were actually made almost like films. They were not so long, but they were made according to scripts, together with many actors, maybe also dancers and choreographers, and then they made the scenery and also the costumes. So it was you know, in a way, it was not this kind of video practice that was in the 80s more important, when everything was really fast. So everything was trying to be immediate in reaction. Usually we say that the video was together with Xerox, you know, photocopy machine and tape recorder for music. These were the tools that were quick, and they were also something that didn't come under the inspection of the government, for example. So they escaped this. And it was very important because also you could make many copies of them. And for video, for example, it was this, if you ever saw these cassettes, VHS cassettes, you could see it in this video essay, for example. They were sent to festivals and so on before. So of course now it's more easy. It's easier. It's easier now, you can send a file. But that was at that time a very big shift in relation to film production, which was very, very expensive. Then you have Emma Kugler, who began to work on video actually after the performances. What is very typical for her is that she is not a performer in the way that she would be performing, but she makes performances with actors and dancers. So she is the author. And on the, somehow she got some suggestions, why do you do also only these performances? They are performed once or twice and not a lot of people see it. And would you also make videos, for example? So she's making videos with her own very typical kind of thematic framework, with her homemade, I would say, costumes, because she actually began as a designer for dresses, which were actually not able to be worn in everyday life, but only in some performances or in some videos. So what was important in the 90s still was that the artists, different artists, were collaborating. So, for example, she would make a costume for one artist and he would make a scenery for her and so on. It was like that. So later, she actually began to work on all these parts of works, and she calls them films. And she already made some feature films that are more than 2 hours long. So this is just about the artist. And then we can see what we did in frame of this. We were visiting Emma Kulder's studio, which is again one of the unfortunate, I would say, how in Slovenia, you know, the artists are not in a very good position. So she had this studio in an old hall that is connected to the railway museum. And when the new director came, he wanted to kick her out. Fortunately, with the help of people who gave the voice for her, she's now able to stay a year longer, but we never know how it's going to end. Then this was also in Slovenian Cinematech within the Festival of Short Film Festival in Ljubljana, when Žarko Luznik was showing how you can digitize and restore the film on a particular Rok Heiser was showing on a particular case of Žarko Luznik film. Then we are happy to be able to visit Borko Radešček, who is known as somebody who has his studio full of equipment, as you can see already in this photo. So he can also digitize, and he can also show you everything on, I don't know, any system, old system of film or video. So we were happy because there was no epidemic at that time during September. And then this is what I mentioned, clubs in Ljubljana, New York. Now I think it was enough from my side. I will just show you this project, Not Yet Written Stories. Actually, what is going to happen in the end is that we shall collect documentation and archive about the artist's works, and then we shall put them, and we are already putting them online on this European repository. So you can see it's called Forgotten Heritage. It began even before in Warsaw in this Artam Foundation. So when you want to explore, you just go and you can explore by artists. So for example, you have Zemira Alepbegovic, and there are some works by her already on this. Yeah. Yeah. It's like this, and then you have what, for example, for video, what we do is that we put 3 stills, like for video for Diva Station archive, but maybe we shall also put full videos. I'm not sure whether the artist will be happy, because for Diva Station we just make a kind of agreement that the artists agree to have videos online or not, and this is not for any other usage. So thank you. I'll be happy to answer the questions if there are any.
Yes, actually, we have a question. But first, thank you so much, Barbara, for presenting the project of many projects of Slovenian Center for Contemporary Arts, and also for taking us on a journey through, like giving us a glimpse of Diva's archive. It was actually really informational, and thank you so much. But we have a question from the viewers, and it goes along these lines. So if we look at the Slovenian context, what do you think, like, how do you see the role of the digital archives of video art nowadays and in the future, if we look at the context of media and image abundance, like, and the need to build the audience? So if you look at the visibility.
Okay. So you can hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I tried to somehow, maybe I didn't succeed, but I tried to somehow show you with this video essay, what is our idea? There should be one part of the Museum of Contemporary Art, for example. That would be a logical combination. That would have one part of the museum for this kind of media archive. Because we began with video art that seemed very important at that time, the 90s. But then later we began to collect also a lot of new media or multimedia works, and also films, but it's short films or maybe experimental films. So this is now, the context is getting a little bit broader than video art. And I think that should be like that, that you would also have one part of this kind of department in the museum would be, of course, this kind of archive that is maybe physical, and that you have also all these players, old players, so that you can have a kind of more original experience. So for example, if you look at VHS cassette, if you digitize it and then look at it in flat screen, it's a quite different experience. So as for example, also in ZKM or in Pompidou Center in Paris they have the possibility that you come there and you ask for some video, you get the tape, and you are placed in front of this player or machine, so that you can have this experience. This is one side. The other side would be that you would have a lot of this kind of museum of the apparatures and tools that would give people the feeling, you know, how all these machines were changed, and how the carriers were changed, and so on. And then in the end, you should have also the possibility to have at least 1 or 2 rooms for a kind of not permanent exhibition, but for changing exhibition about media art. I don't know if I answered the question.
You definitely did in one way, but I have a further, like a follow-up question on this. So if we considering like the state of the world we are in right now, so with Corona and everything, how do you see that? What do you think of the future of digital archives and their importance? You know, and
yeah, it seems more and more important, huh? And our experience, for example, with this retrospective of Miha Vipotnik, which we had in Slovenian Cinematheque. And then there were 6 evenings, and 2 of the evenings were not able to be in Cinematheque Hall. But it was, they were through net, through this base of Slovenian film. And it was somehow interesting, because we got other public, I would say, also, because there is one public that comes to Cinematheque because they would like to see his, for example, films and videos. They also come because they would like to meet him, because they would like to make the honor of the artists and so on. And they come also maybe because they meet other people, as we know, and because there are always then discussions and that are on stage, but also then in cafe, in Cinematheque. So it's, but then this was open. And then, for example, first evening was when the program was on his video, music videos. So we said, of course, they were made for actually TV. So it's fine that you can see it then on computer or on TV, whatever. And then there were a lot of people, international public, who otherwise cannot follow our program. So maybe in a way for these archives, you know, we see now how important it was to make it. Because now we can make programs on the basis of the material which we have. And we can also invite some curators, you know, from, I don't know, from the world to make a kind of selection or something. We can have some more interaction, I think, with experts, but also with the public, I hope.
I hope so too, and also to, yeah, I think it's great to hear some positive news in this time.
Yeah, I mean, hey, yeah.
So building, you know, so kind of building this global community and like getting, like widening the public that sees your project. And I think this is also good because they're really important and they highlight important issues as well. So thank you again for coming here and taking your time and presenting as everyone.
I just want to say I would like to see you once, you know, in body and not just through screen. So that is, you know, the body is still important and the touch and so on. Yeah, smell.
I can do the same, and I hope we will see each other soon.
I wish so. Yeah.
But for now, this online format is also better than no format, I think. So.
No, it's okay when you get used to it. It's okay.
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, thank you for coming. So for dear viewers, if you know anyone who would like to watch this presentation that Barbara just made, the recording of this session will be available on our Facebook page. So feel free to share it, like it, save it, watch it. I think there was a lot of useful information, a lot of good instructions as well, how to surf through like their projects on within DIVA Station. Okay, so that's it for today. We're coming back tomorrow, of course, with some special film screenings actually. So hop over to our YouTube channel at 7 p.m. And because we're gonna screen this year's FEX Award winner, Julia Molina, so FEX Short Films Festival here, and her movie, My Universe. And then also before that, 15 minutes before that, so 6:45, we're gonna screen Nadia at an Iranian school. And this movie was also edited at the International Documentary Film Workshop here in Krško. So, you know, global community again, and everything comes back to Krško as well. And so, of course, after the screenings, come here to our Facebook page at 7:30 p.m. and we will have a live discussion like we did last week with the authors themselves. Okay, so that's it for tonight. Thank you again, Barbara, and dear viewers, and I wish you all a great evening and I hope to see you tomorrow.
Ciao.
Ciao.